Okay, here we are, April 6th, the Marin Sonoma Hub. Okay, so we have an agenda too. So
Yay.
Rand, I put out an agenda. It'd be great to hear first about the June conference, the unconference.
Mhm.
You attended it, Dan?
Sure, yes, I did. All day. Um, okay. Who's the new person here that is new to me anyway, from
Echo
the
Regeneration. Yeah,
static picture
who's
from
that?
Mount Shasta?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see a face if that's possible and have an introduction. Maybe we make introductions.
We met him before.
Okay,
He came to one meeting.
okay.
Um,
Okay. Any news about this person?
Not a lot. Do you remember, Pat?
No.
Just that he's working up in the Shasta area by,
Oh, I know that. I know who that is. Yeah. Matter of fact, it sent me an email. Let's see. Yes. That's from oh, haven't gotten my anyway. I'll find it.
Okay, well, so
let's
it's a
see.
trusted person. We don't just have a Zoom bomber, huh?
No, it's fine. He's trusted.
Okay, great. Yeah, um, so I just got off the intergroup meeting on the international, the design school meeting. Just so you know, and there was all the discussion about shared responsibility, and we're going through the 8 core design principles, which we can get to later. So the unconference was perfect for me because it really did what I was hoping it could and would do. The longer title for it, for those of you, I can never remember it because it was a long title. Co-creating a thriving future for the Bay Area, an unconference. It was well organized, and the person who visited us at our last meeting, I'm forgetting her name because I haven't seen it in writing enough, and it's an unusual name. I don't know if you guys remember it. I listened to our meeting. Thank you for recording them, Pat, and they're stored on the international website, the design school website, which is great. So this was really it was designed to be a meeting of the Bay Area. No, they call it the Bay Delta bioregion. There
Yeah.
they are. I don't know. He showed up. It's funny. It's looking at his ranch or something.
Yeah. My
Anyway, so
my camera just died or something. I don't know what happened. So I'm still here.
we don't see you. Okay, but we got your voice anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the challenges I've had, and the reason I wanted to go to this unconference, and I was glad we were able to, was that it was a meeting of all the disparate groups who are becoming part of the Bay Delta Bioregional Hub. But there were there were 8 times 4 sessions, meaning 32 sessions that emerged out of that. And if you haven't been to an open space gathering before, I have been, but not one as large and as well organized as this was. You put all the sessions are put together at the beginning of the conference, and then depending on how many sessions there are, well, there's 4 sessions, and then how many groups within each session, different groups, they all meet in separate locations. So they had A through H locations, and it was at the junior college. Laney, I guess it's called a community college. And so that meant there were, that what arose were 32 sessions. And you could go between sessions, and each session was about an hour, hour and a half. And so there was one session before lunch, then there was a buffet lunch, and then there were 3 sessions after lunch. So it went from 9 to 5. There was a big introduction, but an hour-long introduction, which I missed, unfortunately, because I had another meeting that I had to attend from 9 to 10:15. But I was able to attend that up there. They had free internet, so that was all good. So I went to 4 sessions out of the 32 sessions that were there. And of course, none of them are recorded, or some of them were recorded, some not. They're going to be published. But it was all about how do we organize the Bay Delta hub. And the Bay Delta hub has various geographies. It actually includes the whole Bay Area plus the whole Central Valley, because which is really the majority of land mass in California. So they've got a huge job, and they consider us a little baby hub up here in North Bay, which is only 2 counties, whereas the other one touches about half of the counties in the state. So there's a big job of organizing all of that. And whether they're going to sub-organize it into sub-bioregions, that was a thread of discussion through all the sessions as I understood them, because there was some feedback at the end between the other sessions, but mostly my partner was able to attend as well, and he went to 4 other sessions that I didn't attend, and he was learning some different things, but he said one of the sessions was most important to him and to our business. So you may or may not know that my business is in the bioresources arena. In fact, I've named it Noble Bioresources Incorporated, and that's my website, noblebioresourcesinc.com. So I have a private sector business, which is mainly a consulting and a facility development business in the bioresources arena, mainly compost, bioenergy, and biochar. And we're putting in facilities all over the state. But above that, I have 4 other organizations that I'm involved in, and this is one of them. And this is my newest. But I feel this is the capstone. And so how we organize this hub is really important to me personally and professionally. But I am the chair of a compost hub, our compost coalition locally. I'm the former executive director of the statewide compost association. And then I'm trying to put together a bioresources innovation hub with UC Davis at the UC Davis campus, which includes everybody. I've been involved in that effort for many years. So how do all of these, really the subject of the symposium or the unconference was how do all of these independent nonprofits, for-profits, government agencies, and universities and schools, how do we all work together to build local bioregional collaboration? And it's a process, and I'm learning a boatload from the design school for regenerating Earth. Like I said, I just got off of one of the bi-weekly seminars. And that was really the essence of this symposium. The beauty of I called it a symposium, they called it an unconference. It was really an open space conference on this subject. And I found it very useful. It was very good to meet people face to face in life, not just virtually. And in fact, that was the subject of the previous meeting I just got off, is what's the difference between these virtual meetings and the in-person meetings, as well as the work that each of us are doing in our various professional or nonprofit or volunteer capacities. So there's no conclusion, it's just part of the process of growing these. I guess I have a few conclusions coming from it, and that is that there's a lot of other people who are trying to do this work, And we're at that stage in our environmental, group development where we need to constantly collaborate to develop these bioregions. And that's something I knew already, but this provides a venue and a practice, both here as well as internationally and in any of the other bioregions globally. So
Was there any suggestions about follow-up or next steps or anything like that?
there were, but it was mainly those follow-up and next steps were for the benefit of that particular hub.
Right.
I did meet one other person from Sonoma Marin, and they were a marketing consultant to one of my compost coalition members, and that was Soilland, who does grab and grow in that. And she was a marketing person, and she said, "What?" She was asking me, "Why don't you? If you did a session on compost, I'd attend it." And I say, "No, I'm not here to promote compost. I'm here to learn about how to form bioregions. And compost to me is just one member of a bioregion."
Yeah, right.
And the
So,
big challenge that was really discussed was how do all of these groups, I mean, there were maybe represented, there were 150 individuals representing maybe 24 or 4 organizations, probably
that's
2
amazing.
dozen. Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah.
Was there a presence of BioFi?
No, she didn't. I mean, she might have been part of, when I say she,
Yeah.
what is it, Samantha? I don't know, Power? No, what's her name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her name is, she doesn't have a plural. It's not Powers, it's Power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I was hoping to meet her there, but I didn't attend the finance session. My partner did attend a finance session and he got her, but I don't know if Samantha was there. If she was there, she didn't make herself known.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
want to follow up with BioFi for sure. How one of the sessions I did go to was led by Tibet. I think it was last name. I only got 2 cards of the whole thing. Yeah, Tibet Sprague. He's the director of technology for Hilo.com, which is a networking program that I actually had become a member of with another course I took a couple of years ago called The Science of the Noosphere. And most of the people there knew all about pro-social. And in fact, his session was called AI and Pro-Social. And I'm a student of the pro-social work. And that's very much infused into the whole design school. So we can talk about pro-social sometime in our group because I think it's essential.
Right. Hello. I wanted to say hello to over here to Hotlam, right? I'm trying to remember what to call you.
Yeah,
hello.
introduce yourselves.
Hello. Jonathan and Nick Bertulis here at Hotlam Camp on Shasta. We have to go do a big tree planting, but I just wanted to introduce myself. If now's a good moment.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I live in Bolinas, West Marin County, and have been very active with the Bioregional Explorers Club, and with Lewis Fox, who tells me is neighbors with you, Pat.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we've been wanting to weave, and get you out to one of our expeditions or our see how our 2 groups can weave. And but more broadly, I'm also working on. I've just been on a West Coast tour of ecosystem restoration camps, and we have a mesh block group on Hilo looking at communication protocols for interbioregional mutual aid, and also working with Lawrence Grodeska on a digital twin for rivers protocol that would be a visual data commons for impact reporting that's community science based. So multi-scalar from satellite, real-time satellite imagery to ground penetrating radar for aquifer monitoring would be sort of this in premise ungreen washable way for impact reporting to take place, and for communities to have a visual narrative to connect them to their source to sea watershed. But also, yeah, working with the Dietrich Institute for Applied Insect Ecology on the compost cup. Dan, you might be familiar with the compost cup.
Actually, I'm not, so I want to learn about it. And if you don't have time to explain it now, we should definitely exchange information.
Yeah, I just sent you a LinkedIn request, so we can connect there. But yeah, it's basically all the cannabis growers in California, to me, represent an embarrassment of wealth on how to do microbial bio inoculants for high productivity agriculture.
Oh, excellent. I really, really want to know more about that. So that's great. So I'll meet you on LinkedIn.
Sounds good, Dan.
Jonathan, can you also put your email, or how to connect with you, so in our chat?
Jonathan just stepped away, but I'll tell him to do that.
Yeah. And yeah, and I wrote to I contacted Lewis and suggested that, since it would be great to have the Bioregional Explorers Club have the design school be exposed to the Bioregional Explorers Club, because I think you're doing some great work out here on the watershed. So might get back to Lewis about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he was with the design school for a while, and then he sort of dropped off. So I'm not. Yeah, it's always there's only so many much bandwidth for digital interfacing. But I will. Yeah, he wants to figure out how to weave more deeply. Yeah, and Pat, yeah, I'm just curious, what direction this group is moving in, so I can understand how we might weave more deeply.
Well, maybe somebody else might want to jump in about that, Anna or Dina, about where we're at.
We're sort of at a moment of reconsidering how we're going forward and replanning, because my attempt to reach people in different groups through emails has been spectacularly ineffective. People aren't responding in the way they used to. It's not an email world anymore. And so we're stepping back and really looking at how to do that. Dina was going to talk about her vision on storytelling and crafting a story that we put out that begins to connect people to the idea of what we're doing. So they're not just seeing it as one more email that's coming in with something to do, when everybody is feeling, particularly people who've been on grants, and it's crashing all around us, and they're losing grants, they're losing money, their organizations, so right now is a time of replanning, reconsidering, and re-going forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I had to change my whole market intelligence, because that's the work I do, is market analysis of bioproduct markets, but that has to be tied back to the bioresource agenda, what I call the bioresource asset inventory for every community. And you just kind of touched on that earlier with the information system. And so that's the world I live in as well. But I think with all of our divergent environmental groups, I really felt that same sense at the conference, that we're all overwhelmed, but we all know we need to collaborate into
Right.
the future and
Right.
do it on a bioregional basis. So I think it's up to this group to create the space for that and the
Yeah.
connectivity. Even
So-
though there's people like yourself, you're going to go out and plant trees right away, and this is interrupting your tree planting process. So
Right.
I feel the same way because I've got, my clients and, I've got to do all that stuff too. But this is really important for all of us, I think. And that somehow we got to communicate that and make it easy for people to engage. Yeah.
Dean?
I reached out to Penny and asked her some input about storytelling, and I think I shared, maybe not with our whole group here, but shared her response to me. And
Yeah.
she also gave me a link to a template the design school has for storytelling, like all the things you would put into writing a story.
Oh,
And I think I'll share it with you guys when I'm done talking, but it was too much. So the only way I can make sense of it and actually write a story is to keep in mind, no matter what I'm writing about, and I thought what we should write about is what's going on. Like, I could take a topic and tell what's going on in their good healing works, and then in that story relate it bioregionally. So the lesson I got out of what Penny said is go for it, figure out to do some storytelling, post the stories on our area of the design school, and relate it to bioregionalism. So no matter who we talk to or what we write, we have to relate it to get that in people's consciousness.
I connecting with that, Dina, I took a very different tone and rewrote to Greg Saris, who is the head of the Great Rancheria. You know who he is, Dan?
Yeah.
no.
Greg
I don't know.
Saris. He's written a number of wonderful stories that are indigenous stories. He lives up on Sonoma Mountain. He's the head of the Great Rancheria and the
Okay.
whole casino thing. And I've met him through Anne Hancock years ago, but he probably won't remember me. But I wrote him a very personal kind of story about our connection and about what was happening and how much we needed that indigenous story of our bioregion. And I think it's connecting there and weaving that story into what's happening. But we're talking about two things, not only the regenerative activities, the soil, compost, the forest, the water, food, all of that, but we're talking about community. So we're not only regenerating and connecting the various elements that are part of a whole. They're not separate. They're part of a whole ecosystem. And when they're siloed, they feel separate.
Right.
We get off and we're working on this, but it's really the whole picture, how we deal with the forest effects, the water effects, the soil effects, it's all interconnected. And because the main thing that we're doing that I see is rebuilding community. That's
Right.
what we've lost more than anything, is the circle of people who are holding something together.
which is the past. That's the way the tribal people operated. The whole circle held the picture and supported each other. Now, we can't take in our whole community, but at least the people who are working on regenerative projects can become moved toward being. And I don't know the answer, what exactly it looks like, but we have to, I know that restoring that sense of community and connection and mutual support is probably primary to the larger
Yeah,
restoration.
and it's community around more than an idea. It really is community around place, right? The bioregion.
Right.
Yes.
And it's not just any old place. It's about it's about the living creatures that are in that place, including humans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead, Pat.
I could speak to something about the connection between a storytelling community. So this morning I was telling Dina from 7 to 8, I had a Zoom with Gatherings for Earth. Gathering for Earth is a sort of a monthly, sometimes bi-monthly uh, uh, international Zoom from United Religions Institute, URI. And my friend Lauren Van Ham, she organizes it. She's out in Richmond. She's one of the co-founders of Project Adapt, which I've been involved in. So I got Lauren to join the design school, and now we have two other people. So we have 4 people now in the design school from Project Adapt. So that we're going to be meeting tomorrow, 3 of us. I just found out about Molly joining it, to see how we can connect ourselves with bring together the Project Adapt and the design school, since now we have 4 of us who know what we're talking about. So we'll see where that goes. But regarding this morning's group, what was great about the Zoom this morning is that it was so diverse. I was starting to tell Dina about that. And one of the topic this morning was young people organized as what do they call them? CCs, community centers in their own localities, using storytelling as a way to bring out the message of earth restoration and care for the earth, and also a lot of visual stuff. They showed how working locally in your local communities, like you say, Dan, it's about building community and doing things together. So they had projects, a simple thing in Maui, for instance, of making certain kinds of stoves that they could provide people with that really reduce pollution. Anyway, it just the whole idea of bringing your message out in a way that connects with people locally in terms of building a community. So I was really struck by the fact that so unlike so many of our design school sessions were basically Caucasian or white, and here we have such diversity coming in. There's so much like this going on around the world, and I think what you said before from the unconference, one of our main concerns is to connect.
Right.
Really to connect. So.
Well, and I agree too with the storytelling metaphor, because there were a number of sessions on that topic as well. And the fact that you have the format, I just saw that there. So I don't consider myself a storyteller, although I have a number of books in the works. Mine are more, because I often think of the term story as fiction,
Yeah.
rather than scientific fact, and so I kind of bounce back and forth between the two. But what I know is that our personal stories and our cultural stories are absolutely essential to this work.
Yeah.
We got to get to know each other. appreciate each other, accept each other, and know each other's personal as well as organizational stories. Like I didn't know Project Adapt until I heard it from you, and I just went to their website. You
Well-
probably don't know about, Health Association of Compost Producers, which I've been involved in for 20 years. And now we're doing compost coalitions, which I've been involved in for the last 10 years here locally. So there's so many stories. We can flood ourselves with stories, but at the same time, that's how we connect and get to know each other, right?
Just a little bit of my expertise here. Stories are, we come into the world primed to remember and to respond to story.
Mhm.
Story was how people learned, and long before there was writing or books or anything or facts, science, there was story. Story is as basic to us as humanity. So when somebody's telling a story, the storyteller, it's interesting, they did brain scans. That was in my book. I don't know if you remember it. They did the brain, they hooked people up who were listening to a story. And when the story was being told, the storyteller's brain had lights that went on all over the place, sensory centers, emotional centers, visual, so forth.
Mhm.
And after a few moments, everyone listening to the story had the same patterns going in their brains,
Mhm.
sitting. That does not happen if you're standing and giving information. That only goes into one center, the lecture. But the story lights up your whole brain like a Christmas tree.
Interesting.
And the children used to, the children that I would tell stories to, the younger ones, can come back and they know that story. That story lives in them.
Mhm.
Not information that you get, but the story. And they could retell it or act it out or play with it. So in this sense of telling what stories, this is why I wrote to Greg Sarah's, because he's very powerfully taken these old indigenous stories and used them as a way of talking about community and story. And that's where we need help. It's a creative process. It's
Well, that's a
not
good example too
institutional
of
process.
the Great Casino, because to me, it seems like really those two stories seem really far apart. I kind of some way look at casinos as revenge on the white man.
No, the casinos though are, I mean, the indigenous people used to gamble. It comes out of a culture. It's a gambling culture.
Oh, okay.
But
I wasn't aware of that.
the money is being used to fund all sorts of regenerative projects.
Interesting.
The Laguna Foundation got a lot of funding from Great Rancheria.
Okay.
Hair and Shadow, the beautiful little farm in Grayton, is Great Rancheria. So
Oh,
that
interesting.
money is being used.
Great. That's
That
super.
was the way they could step in.
It's like, yeah, interesting. Well, that's good. That's good news. And I'll be interested in learning more about the stories that
Yeah,
they're telling too, how that
so
connects back to their ancestry. I'm connected to my ancestry, which was European, but my 11th great grandfather came over from England in 1630, just after the
yeah.
Mayflower.
Well, we both share that. We all have our stories,
Right.
but we are here and together.
Mhm.
We need to. I've been struck by how separate the indigenous groups that are here and around us that I've connected with are feeling.
Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't included them in our story or their story, although I think those of us who are involved in
And we need
environmental
to read
restoration and
we
adaptation
need to
are,
read the stories
yeah,
together.
yeah,
And it's not going backwards
no,
because we do have science, we do know things,
right.
but it's overlaying their depth of knowledge is different than ours.
Yeah,
Knowledge that
or
comes.
yeah, including it, because I'm very keen on imagination, which, you know, in the Aboriginal, Australian Aboriginal referred to as Dreamtime. And I read a
So
book by a crossover of that culture, which is called Sand Talk. So I'm very interested in this process. And I'm not only interested, I was engaged in it since I was a kid. When I was part of Indian Guides, and then as part of Boy Scouts, I was part of the honor camping society called Order of the Arrow. And a lot of the scoutcraft stuff that we taught was native based, but it also had a tinge of Western militarism as well. So, so it was kind of a confusing, mashup of native cultures and European cultures.
Pat, I was really glad that you got the connection, some support from Lori and from your Project Adapt. I had felt that it takes Project Adapt too, which has been a beautiful organization, but it puts it on the ground more. I remember talking with David about that,
Yeah,
that it wasn't
Yeah,
really dealing directly with on the ground.
yeah, that's what we want to talk about tomorrow.
That's exciting.
well, and I think weaving together all the group stories and individual stories is an ongoing process. It never stops, right?
Yeah,
But
I
we
don't
can,
know how to begin this though, so we can launch the story. That's something I'm going to be working on, and Dina, I'm looking forward. This is you brought this picture, so
Yeah, interestingly enough, in the Sierra Club newsletter today, they have apparently it's a series on storytelling. And so they have a Zoom today at 4 Pacific time on storytelling. So maybe I can listen to that while I'm preparing dinner or something, just to get more tips. So and they're saying we need to learn how to tell stories to make change in our communities. And that's what we're trying to do.
exactly. I've
Yeah.
been part of Sierra Club and Surf Riders Association and Earth First way back when, and we've always had challenges between not only within these groups but between the groups, and that's what we're trying to do. But the one coherent boundary, and this is where the 8 core design principles come in. Do we share the same ethic? And I think we all do here, and that's what we need to document and tell. So one of the things I would recommend for us is to start here just with the 4 of us and whoever else comes along and put together, address each of the 8 core design principles, because that's part of the storytelling, which is really about our future. Do we share values? It's really a values.
so the 8 core design principle. Tell me what.
Yeah, that's of Eleanor Ostrom in Common Pool Resource Management. She got the Nobel Prize for her research on that.
Yeah, could you give could you email
Well,
that?
it's in a bunch of papers, but 2 main books. The book Pro-Social is based on those 8 core design principles. There's multiple chapters in the Pro-Social book.
So you're not saying acorn, you're saying, what are you saying? Put it in the chat.
Okay, 8 core design principles.
8 core.
If you go to Eleanor Ostrom, who is the author of those, that has moved into evolutionary theory, and it's also become a core design principle for organizing common pool resources. That would be like fisheries, water bodies, timberlands, anything biological resources, which is what I focus on. And water is the primary biological resource.
Who was the principal that you named?
Eleanor Ostrom. So
Austrian, yeah.
I'll put a few, we should, I mean, where are we going to store the information for our group? We can either,
We have a Google Doc of resources, and I did send that to you. I don't think we look in it very often, but when we were first meeting, we were dumping a lot of things into there.
okay, let's do that because I manage multiple Google Drives.
Okay,
So
let me,
whose Google Drive is it? Whose email is on that drive? Because that's how they're organized.
I started it.
So it's on your email. So it's your Google Drive.
Yeah, let's see. I'll find it right now.
But you can, the beauty of Google Drives is you can share
Oh,
whole
yeah.
drives or down to individual documents.
Yeah, I shared after you came to Anna's house the other day, I shared links of certain things we have together in the Google Drive and the resource list. There's tabs on the bottom is how I divided things up into like books and articles or, things like that.
You remember what the subject line was? Because I'm sure it's in my email, but I'm also sure I didn't see it. I only have 1,200 unopened
resource.
emails. That's
It,
literally.
it would be a spreadsheet, and it would have resources in the title. I'll find it while we're talking.
Dina Allen. If I just put in Dina Allen, I don't have that many emails from you. So if I do that, I have Penny's thoughts, reminder, and Zoom link.
I just
I'm
found
looking at
it.
the subject line. You found it?
Yep.
Okay. Just drop if you have a link, just drop it in the chat.
Yep.
And that way I'll have it in my notes here.
There you go.
Oh, good. And we'll have the chat, right, Pat?
Yeah, it'll be in the chat.
Okay.
Those
I
guys,
wanted,
those
yeah.
guys who were on but then dropped off. He said he was from Bolinas. I've never heard of Bolinas.
It's
I
out,
mean,
it's out in West Marin. It's further west. It's on the coast.
Kind of by Point Reyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Point
One
Reyes
of the southern
Station.
access to Point Reyes is through Bolinas, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
right.
I'm in the beginning of West Marin, just over the hill from Fairfax. So I'm sort of considered West Marin.
Yeah. Just wanted to touch in to that last session with Joe. I found it. And then the Thursday session. I felt like we were approaching it got more on the ground. I think the thing that comes through for me so much is, even though there's so much information to take in, oops, Dan, okay, I'll be back, I think. There's so much information to take in that, is conceptual that Joe's given us. He's taken us through his whole design thing and where it comes from, that we're in this incredibly this unprecedented moment with what's happening politically through the Trump administration. And I think the anxiety and stress of that for all of us, it's affecting everyone's life, some very directly. I just talked last night to my good friend, Leslie, who's the managing director of the Marin Shakespeare Festival. And they just lost their NEA grant for the play that is being halfway through, is almost on. It's impacting so many people. We're sitting today waiting for a possible quote. I am expecting it to be very high for farmers insurance for our house, because we lost our house insurance from State Farm. So all of us are dealing with a moment of an unprecedented uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen to this country, to the economy. And
none of
I
us
do
do.
know that it's given even though there are many forces behind it, it's the current administration is incredibly stupid, also not well informed and erratic. And it could lead to a real economic system crash. That was something that's beginning to be admitted. So what we're doing here is providing a connection and resilience. You know, in the actual, I don't want to form this in a too negative a way, but I was thinking of the fires. Out of an intense, conflagration of one sort or another, people come together. It was the 1906 earthquake. I remember the stories of how people went out onto the beach and cooked for everybody, and how they galvanized and came together and helped each other. So part of what I see as the impulse behind what we're doing at this point is the antidote, the very deep human response to a time of crisis. If you fragment, you've got dystopia. But if you come together, you can create something. We'll get through this. We can help each other. We'll share.
I agree, and that was the impetus behind Joe and now Penny in their group, which is our group.
Yeah. So Dina, I'm thinking about you and the way you've been on the ground doing things like that for so long, sharing foods, doing mending, all these things are important, but it's coming out of that impulse and building it in a broader and more connected way. So
yeah, I agree with you. It's an antidote. I also, just metaphorically think of it as our arc to the flood of chaos and money that's been happening, amongst the the billionaire class.
yeah, so
Well, I'll figure out some places to start posting our stories. Like I think I figured out where they would go in the design school, and I'll do some more research about our own website and blog. But my challenge to myself is to write what is going on the Grange, where most of the programs I'm active in, Anna was mentioning, are through the Grange, and how that can relate to community resiliency and bioregionalism.
right. And
that will be what I am going to attempt to write about. And I believe Pat since he's writing about Project Adapt anyways, I believe that could be his first attempt at a story. And then, if we each attempt a story of something we either know about, like Anna knows about education a lot, or Dan knows about compost, maybe that will be a good practice for us each to relate what we instinctively know is the right thing to be doing with bioregionalism, and we'd have 4 stories already.
Yeah, I have one more question to Dina, and I see you, Pat. Just mapping, how is it going?
Well, we had 3 workshops. There wasn't one this Monday, and it's on a break. And I don't know, I don't feel like I got anything new yet. I still I see cool things other groups have done, but I still don't know how to make something our own and happen for us yet. But whenever the classes continue again, I'll dive back in. They're having that thing up in Cascadia now, so people are involved in that and they don't have time to take a mapping class, which is nice because then we get a break.
By the way, I've been doing mapping my whole career, but I am not a professional digital mapper, like using ArcInfo or Google Earth. My son has done the same, a lot of micro mapping on smaller properties, which kind of corresponds to surveying maps. But these are more resource map oriented. There is a whole industry that does nothing but mapping, starting with Google Maps, and a lot of them use either Google Maps or ArcInfo. Then the question is what are you using the map for? Who's collaborating on it? How are you pulling together all the information? I mean, that's a whole profession, but we can piggyback on the ones who've already done this work. And I know 2 or 3.
It's artistic. There's some beautiful maps. The maps are part of the story when they're done in an artistic way. And Pat, you wanted to say something and you got interrupted.
Oh, I just emailed everybody. I just got an email from Lauren that the recording is available from this morning's session. And if you take a look at it, you'll get some ideas of what these young people, it's actually a youth group organization, which is international, by the way, and in URI, of what they're doing locally, telling stories. So you might check it out, see if it gives you any ideas. And I like what you said, Dina. I'll think about, putting a story together as it unfolds.
Kind of check the design school template to see if anything speaks to you.
Okay.
But if nothing else, it will remind us to always tell what our place is, so where we're located, and how the concept of bioregionalism applies to the story we're telling. So if we can include those 2 things, at very least, we're doing better than before.
I wrote, I think what frustrated me is I sort of wrote I made very personal emails out. So I'm sort of responding to what Anna said earlier about we're at a place now where people don't respond to emails. We're over emailing each other. So I sent out numerous emails to people I met about my story of getting connected with the watershed and with the design school, and it got me nowhere for a whole year. So there definitely has to be a new way of connecting with people.
Right. So that's the other question, is how do you get the story out? And there has to be an event.
Well,
the event pulls together and shares the story, the picture. So I don't know quite form that's going to take, but it's not just a story that we send out on emails again.
Right. Yes.
Or doing that one.
Penny,
I think you just have to multi-use anything you do. So if you write a story, it goes on a map we don't have yet, it goes on the design school, it goes on a website we don't have yet, it goes in an immersion, which is their word for event, Anna. So I think having a critical mass of stories, like several stories that we can weave together, is something we can do to start this.
Yeah.
I think that I woke up there. I was thinking about this morning, and as I was waking up, Penny and Joe encouraged me at some point in one of the design school sessions to actually have an event, a local event like it. And I think they mentioned my library, and I thought about an event, my local library, where I would be telling my story.
Right.
So it would be involving some other things that people could do locally. And I think this is kind of what we're trying to do with Project Adapt, with this project of getting people to join us on organizing some kind of event that will draw people together. I think this doing something in person is really very important now.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
where I'm heading.
Yeah. And Dina, this is what you and Tor have done through the carbon conversations. So we may be talking about a new carbon conversation too. I don't know if you want to do it under that hub, but that kind of pulling together and sharing to launch this. Yeah.
By the way, notice it's 11:30, so
Yeah.
probably should be wrapping up. But this has been a really good starting point for us. That's been a good session.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. And Dan and Dina, I'll be sort of, next 2 weeks are a little busy for me. We could meet and talk, but I'm going to be going to Minnesota, just so you know. And I'll be gone 4 or 5 days.
Can you tell me the dates and I'll write them down this time?
That I'm going to be gone? I
Yep.
think the 18th. Just a minute, I'll tell you, hold on. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We're
Yeah, the
wrapping.
15th. I know you've got to do it. 15th, I'm leaving. I'll be back the night of the 19th. So I'll be back on the 20th for that Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll get the recording up to the design school. Oh, Anna, let me know when you want to write. Do you still want to write a little something, Anna, for the to go with the YouTube recording?
What, dear?
Do you still want to write the little summary?
Oh, sure, of our meeting.
Yeah, I'll wait for it until you send it to me. Say, like, could you get it to me like by Friday or?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so I'll hold off, and then when we get it, I'll put it up with the email.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see each other again in 2 weeks, and I'll get the summary, the email out on Friday.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good. I'm adding those
everybody
books.
motivated, start writing, give it a try. Write an
Okay,
outline.
Dan.
Yeah,
By the way,
All right.
I have a
I'll
bunch of
just-
outlines for papers and
If
books.
you get an email from me, open it.
All right. Yeah,
So
right.
that way I'm still stuck on that. Okay, dears. Dina, you're busy too, so.
Yeah, are you still gonna meet me at the garden Saturday morning, Anna?
Oh, I can't, I have a problem. I have a conflict, but I'll maybe can do it.
just
I'll call you. I'll talk to you before.
a little aside before we go. Anna kind of spoke a couple of sessions ago about reading The Dawn of Everything, and
The birth of everything.
I'm rereading it. I'm rereading it now again, and you might want to check out David Graeber's just published set of essays. Unfortunately, he died in 2020. He's one of the co-authors. It's the the ultimate hidden truth of the world. And I think you'll find it, a set of essays, I think you'll find it really stimulating, related to what we're doing.
I was thinking about him this morning.
Good guy to read. So anyway, till next time, right?
Yes,
You got it.
All right.
got it.
Thanks, Pat, for
All right,
being the
everybody.
organizer.
But he's got it, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.